Nigerian court has directed President Bola Tinubu's government to disclose how much in stolen funds it has recovered from late military ruler Sani Abacha and how the money was used. Abacha ruled Nigeria, Africa's most populous nation and top oil exporter from 1993 until his death in 1998, during which time Transparency International estimated that he took up to $5 billion of public money but was never charged. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project asked the High Court in the Federal High Court Abuja to force the government to account for Abacha's loot since the country returned to civil rule in 1999. Over the years, the United States, Switzerland, and British dependency of Jersey are among those who have returned hundreds of millions of dollars linked to Abacha. In his ruling, Justice James Omotosho said the government should disclose the exact amount of money stolen by General Sani Abacha from Nigeria and the total amount of Abacha loot recovered and all agreements signed on same since the return of democracy in 1999 to date. The Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture has congratulated President Bola Tinubu on his re-election, or his election rather, as the chairman of the Economic Community of West African States. Nasima's President Dele Oye's comment was made known via a statement released in Lagos after President Tinubu emerged chairman of ECOWAS as the 63rd ordinary session of the regional bloc in Guinea-Bissau. Oye said the appointment was coming at a time when the ECOWAS region was positioning its member states ready to be well integrated into African Continental Free Trade Area. He said that Nigeria was expected to play a vital role in the region, as well as the continent being the largest economy in Africa. The Nasima president, however, stressed the need to address some of the challenges confronting intra-Africa West African trade. He noted that there were still several stumbling blocks preventing the free flow of goods and services within the region, such as cumbersome procedures, high cost of transportation, and corruption. Away from that, Nigerians engaged in wholesale and retail trade and repair of motor vehicles and motorcycles paid a total tax of 167.45 billion naira between the first quarter of 2022 and first quarter of 2023. The total tax was raised from value-added tax and company income tax. According to the Federal Inland Revenue Service, company income tax is a 30% tax imposed on the profit of companies, and VAT is a 7.5% consumption tax paid when goods are purchased and services rendered and borne by the final consumer. The government raised about 96.96 billion naira from VAT and 70.49 billion naira from company income tax for the wholesale and retail trade and repair of motor vehicles and motorcycles. A breakdown for VAT showed that mechanics and traders paid about 14.32 billion naira in first quarter of last year, 16.21 billion in the second quarter, 17.31 billion in the third quarter, and 19.99 billion in the fourth quarter of 2022, and 29.14 billion naira in the first quarter of 2023. The International Center for Tax Research and Development has cautioned the federal government and Federal Inland Revenue Service to restrict from introducing multiple taxes in value-added tax, as well as increasing the tax burden on consumers. It says such issues will make investors abandon the manufacturing sector, which will affect the volume of import coming into the country. President Morenike Babatin Ashayi, in a statement, also said that presently the cost of producing goods in the country was higher than the goods when imported. Babatin Ashayi added that increasing VAT was not the solution, as it could lead to employees being laid off from work, thereby increasing the rate of unemployment. Morenike, who is also a former chairman of the Ogun State Internal Revenue Service, appealed to the Federal Inland Revenue Service to collaborate with the Market Traders Association of Nigeria to ensure compliance by taxpayers. An economic analyst has said the suspension of the 2023 Finance Act, telecoms, import and other taxes has shown President Bola Tinubu's highest political will to improve Nigeria's business environment. According to the lawyer and tax manager from PricewaterhouseCoopers, Emmanuel Akpeme, the tax and fiscal policy will bring short-term reprieve for shareholders in the nation's economy and boost investors' confidence. He made this known earlier Monday while speaking on IBrandTV's flagship business program, Business Breakfast.
So the implication is this. As at the time the people, Nigerians, became aware of the Finance Act 2023, some businesses would have been operating against or in default of the provisions of the Finance Act that was to have started on the 1st of May 2023. So what the present government has done is to say, let us even align with best practice and our national tax policy. Because the National Tax Policy 2017 provided in Section 3 sub 1 that for any new tax that is being introduced, there should be a transition period between 3 to 6 months so that the people, the taxpayers who are to comply with those provisions will be able to make some arrangement, make some planning if they have to do some things around their ERP to comply with the provisions of the law as to paying of their taxes. So this is actually best practice, and it means that those who are to comply with some of those provisions in the Finance Act 2023 now have a period of 3 months, 90 days to look at their system, make the necessary amendments that will enable them comply with the provisions of the Finance Act 2023. And I think it is actually in order.
And in the meantime, bread makers under the aegis of Premium Bread Makers Association of Nigeria have called on the federal government to urgently cancel the import tax on wheat to avoid a further hike in the price of bread across the country. The president of the association, Emmanuel Onora, disclosed this in an exclusive interview on IBrandTV business program, Business Breakfast. He explained that the withdrawal of fuel subsidy and the liberalization of the foreign exchange market by the federal government has raised the cost of bread production in the country by 100%.
It's a very tough one for us as businesses. We are facing a dire strait. We are almost going extinct as an industry. You know, I feel for Nigerians because expendable income is almost 100% eroded. People are poorer today, and on top of that is the escalating cost of doing business. And you know, if care is not taken, this might exacerbate the current insecurity we are facing in the country because more people will be thrown out of job. And once people are thrown out of job, they don't have a means of livelihood. They don't know where the next meal is going to come from. What do they resort to is next thing is to resort to criminality. So the more people are out of job, the more the impact of insecurity in our society, and that is not what we want. What we want is a secured Nigeria, a Nigeria where the poor man can be able to afford the basics of life, a Nigeria where the poor man can be able to say, okay, I can buy a bread that I used to buy at maybe 200 naira. You know, in the next 1 year, I should be able to buy it at that amount and not looking at his back every day, thinking of increases in the price of bread, not only bread, but all other essential commodities in the market. 4 seeds of tomato today is about 2,000 naira. Onion you cannot get. A tube of yam is going for 4,000 naira. So how will the poor Nigerians survive? You know, these are things that we should be interrogating in the country today because it is very, very tough. Then for us as businesses, we are running at bare bottom. You know, we're just managing to survive as businesses. We are not running at profitable levels. What we try to do is just to remain there, ensure you are sustainable, ensure you are able to pay your workers their salaries, and then every other thing is just what it is.